To my knowledge, there is not a more jaw-dropping conversion story than the one you are about to watch. Meet Connor and Courtney, a married couple with 5 children who grew up Protestant evangelical on the West Coast. Becoming more and more dissatisfied with their Protestant pastors and their spiritual needs unfulfilled, they would end up church hopping without feeling satisfied. As time went on, Connor and Courtney together would fall into certain sins and addictions that would ultimately lead them to join the occult and remain for nearly 2 years. They would engage in blood sacrifices, communication with demons, and receive preternatural powers bestowed by those demons. How they ended up converting to the Catholic Church will have you in pure shock. Please like and subscribe and consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Catholic Christian. Thank you and enjoy.
Yeah, that's where I was like, wow, you guys both converted. What caught my eye or attention was the fact that anytime you have a married couple that more or less, whether they're before they're married, during marriage, or whatever after, and they convert together, that's super rare.
Yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of people giving them advice. One guy, he's converting, but his wife is still Lutheran, and he's having a hard time with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when did you guys meet each other, you and your wife?
Uh, Back in like 2015, my brother was a youth or the worship leader up with a guitar, and he, for a small like church plant that was a group of Southern Baptists who wanted to make Seattle more Christian, and that's where we met first. Did a Bible study for young adults.
Now, was this like a Protestant or evangelical
Yeah, it was
community?
Protestant, evangelical, Southern Baptist. Um, the church is no longer there because it was really small. It never got above like 50 people, and half of the attendance for the church were people from a college group at a different Protestant church that I was born into and went to.
Oh, so what did you grow up as?
Uh, I grew up as Baptist. She grew up with a different lineage. But my pastor, if you know who John MacArthur is, my pastor was one of the last people to be trained by John MacArthur.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. He recently just passed, right?
Yeah, that's okay. That's his. Yes.
Yeah. And so again, I'm not trying to dox you or anything, but you
Yes.
mentioned Seattle. Is that where you guys are from?
We're from Seattle. I've grown up in the area. I'm still less than like 10 miles from the hospital I was born at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I spent basically my whole life there too. We moved here when I was like 3 months old, so I don't have any memory of something else.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's like one of the only cities I have not been to. I've been to like 43 states and all the cities. Um, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and Seattle produced a lot of good music in the early 90s for sure. Um,
Talking about it recently, like half of his bands are like, "Oh, I like these bands. They're all from Seattle."
yeah. So, okay, so you guys met around 2015.
Yep.
It was a Southern Baptist church. And then what happened from there? Like, how long did you guys date? Were you guys both kind of going to church together? And how did that all
We
work out?
we dated exactly 2 years because I asked her to marry me on the same or the second year anniversary, and I asked her out on Valentine's Day. Um, any other details?
Yeah, we continue to go to church. We were pretty consistent with church going, at least to the Protestant churches we were in. We did go to different ones.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of drama with Protestant churches. I don't know how often they are at Catholic parishes. Um, the first church we were attending was really weird and small, and so they had a lot of weird judgments that we eventually like, yeah, we're not really enjoying.
Central.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one that my brother was hosting the Bible study at.
Then we went to my parents, and because we struggled with premarital sex,
Sure.
the pastor there decided that we were idolizing each other and said either leave the church or break up.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Those are the only two options. There was nothing out.
Like, he took me out, or I thought everything was fine. Her parents found out. They made us go to counseling. The counselor was in conjunction with the church. Basically, it felt like pretty much a smear campaign against me by the pastor and the counselor, who were miscommunicating with one another.
The counselor was someone I had been seeing for depression, anxiety, and so he was very protective of me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so he wasn't really open to hearing Connor's side of things. He really only wanted to listen to mine.
Mhm.
And that just soured things. And then the pastor stepped in with his authority and made a
He-
pronouncement.
Yeah, he took me out to like a lunch and literally sat me down with that he wanted to talk. He suddenly sprang it on me, that he wanted me to either break up or leave the church. I told him, hey, I'm acting on the best of my conscience. I read the Old Testament passage with, if you're unmarried and you sleep together, you should marry as quickly as humanly possible, or pay the bride price, or only at the behest of the father. Or there was the, if two are burning with lust, they should seek marriage as soon as possible. And I was like, okay, that feels exactly what I'm feeling. So I wanted to move into marriage and honor that. And so,
So here's my question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize, but did the pastor get a hold of the information of your guys' personal private situation from your counselors?
Yes, because he was associated with it, with the church. If the counselor felt like we weren't listening, he had an ability to tell the pastor, hey, I think there's a discipline issue here.
How did that make you guys feel? The fact that your counselors, I mean, like with the whole HIPAA privacy and all that confidentiality.
That you sign something with most Christian counselors that gives them an exception.
yeah.
And so we just didn't think it would be used on us.
Mhm.
I was very confused because of the miscommunication, the pastor thought that Connor was abusive toward me. So he talked to me completely differently, and it was I had no idea what to do with it. Uh,
Man, that's just crazy. I'm sorry. Again, I don't mean to judge or speculate. It just seems like a conflict of interest for.
You-
I know it's
Man, we're like, why'd we agree to that? That we should have seen this was going to be conflicting walking into it.
yeah. I hope he paid for the lunch.
Oh, he did. That's, well, I stood up and walked out, so I'm pretty confident he did. I didn't take the order after that. Like, he brought it up pretty much immediately. Or no, he was really weird about it. He specifically like waited. He was really like trying to get into like 3 questions of small talk. I guess he passed the checkbox, and then it was like, okay, now it's time to um bring up the big question.
My family remained against us getting married because we had struggled with premarital sex, and they just had an image in their head of what that meant about both of us in our state of spiritual life, and it was very difficult getting them on our side.
What I'm concerned about, and I'm wondering if you guys brought this up with your pastor or maybe even your counselor, is why the 2 options alone? Why can't we have some sort of situation where we're chaste, we're not, I mean, we're still dating, but we're not like sleeping at each other's houses. You know what I mean? Like, why can't we remedy this situation and not just reduce it to those 2 options?
I continued to talk with them. The counselor actually later apologized. He's like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have reached out to you first and asked for permission, and he apologized.
Yes.
The pastor apparently went up to my parents like 6 or 8 months later and says, and told them maybe he was a little strong with Connor. And we're like,
And I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's not right, obviously, objectively. So what happened? What happened after that? Then did you guys leave the church or?
We left that church and went back to the church that I was originally going to. So for me, I was originally at Crossroads Bible Church. Then I moved to Essential because my brother got the job there, and me and my mom wanted to support him. And then because I wanted to be more in line with her, we went to the church that her parents were going to. And then I went back to that first church.
and I followed when
Yeah.
he was given the ultimatum. I was like, well, I'm choosing to stay with him. So,
Yeah.
yes.
So how did that make you guys feel? Kind of, I don't want to say church hopping. I really don't. I don't mean that, but you know what I mean. Just kind
At
of.
the time, it felt right. Looking back, it now feels really weird. There's a pretty stark shopping around for churches, and we later hit it again with COVID and had to find a new church again. And it feels really weird being like going around nitpicking at things. Like, I liked the coffee, but I didn't like the music and stuff like that.
I
And trying to find theology matching his eternal frustration.
Yeah, I would like we tried so many different denominations. Like we even tried Messianic Judaism. Interesting. Because I was a Protestant and I was
Our First Nation is that boring? Come on. That's funny.
I tried to because I have or like my like we had like it's really funny that like people are commenting on like dispensationalist theology now because like my Protestant church talked about like how blessed the nation state of Israel is. We had like Zion's Fire magazine in
I can assume what that's about. I've never heard fire. I'm pretty.
doesn't take a lot to figure that one out, and it was basically exactly that. Um, yeah, that was a big like I was very open and friendly with like Jewish tradition and all this stuff. And I was very much in agreement of like the importance of the Old Testament and how it relates to us as Christians. Um, so that's what started to draw me over there. So I then found out that sadly Messianic Jews are neither Messianic nor Jewish, and they're just kind of charismatics.
And charismatics are kind of weird.
Do you know of Ash Mays? I've had him on my channel before.
I haven't heard of it. I went to Assemblies of God College, so I am very familiar with a lot of their talking points and their worship stuff.
I think that we I didn't know that it was how you pronounce his last name, but I've seen videos of his.
He's a convert from Judaism. He was an Orthodox Jew, and now he's an Eastern Rite Catholic, and he knows all about Messianic Judaism. But sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you there. But
No,
Yeah.
so you guys, this is what I'm getting. You guys obviously had a desire to find, let's say, truth or the fullness of truth. Yeah,
Yep.
you were aching for it, like you were mentioning, like the theological background or whatever, And maybe would you say that you weren't really getting that fulfilled with these Protestant communion?
I had a fulfillment in my like growing up pastor. He would sit down and he would read the Bible and he would take a whole week to prepare his sermon. He would do study on study and read commentaries on every verse. And he would read it in the Greek. He would read the passage in the Hebrew. He could read Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. He was a doctorate in theology. He was
Wow.
he was very educated for someone who was Protestant. He would then even break down what the Greek meant, how the grammar worked, what this means for us, and then practical applications of it, of the passages at the end. And I felt fed by him. Then another pastor came in
because he retired.
because he had been the pastor for like 38 years there at that church. Like since the 1970s, my mom started attending that church sometime in like the 80s.
And he retired 2018.
And he retired in 2019, right before COVID. So going through a pastor change to someone who I was less confident in, I had read through a passage in Romans where Paul describes that there's thanksgiving, there's petition, I forget the other words. But it was like 4 or 5 different Greek words that all meant something very particular and independent for prayer and what to include in a prayer. And I remember hearing a sermon from him, one of the first, that he was going over that passage. I had read through that passage because I wanted to be like my pastor. So I went out and I bought an interlinear Bible. I bought Strong's Concordance, reading in the Greek and the Hebrew.
Hardcore.
Yeah. I carried around, I used to be very studious as a Protestant. I've got over like 30 Bibles of various translations.
What's your favorite translation? I mean, non-Catholic. We'll get into that.
It used to be a toss up between, I had a parallel that was my favorite because it had NIV. I like the simplicity of the NIV, even though there were like issues with how they started translating gender casings. Then I liked NASB, and had that was the second one. It had King James. I was never a fan of the King James, and I don't get the hype behind that.
The hype, the KJV hype.
Yeah, the number of King James onlyist people that I've come across, they were all just really weird to me.
You went to a church that was KJV only.
Oh yeah, which one was that one?
It's Oklahoma. He only ever read in King James.
Oh yeah, he only ever read in King James. I didn't notice that. I forgot about that church entirely.
We were there for like a month, so.
Yeah, that was like what, 2 months.
Yeah.
So between that, what made me really leave, or I tried to talk to the pastor, like we got scheduled 3 months out. It took him like 4 weeks to get back to our email.
Told us he was too busy.
Yeah, and then he eventually just canceled the meeting because he told us he was too busy as a pastor. It was a church of, it was a very big church.
2000.
Was he the only minister there?
He was the senior pastor, but we had the stereotypical pastor naming system. We had Pastor Jerry, there was Pastor Tom, there was Pastor Jim. They were all like really basic names.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So then, your last church, I think that's is this what you're alluding to with this pastor that didn't get back to you? This was like your last Protestant communion, or no?
That wasn't the last, or that wasn't the last Protestant church we went to. We tried to go to an older one, but the problem was we would either run across two issues. Either the church was way too far away for us to attend. So, like driving, I started having health issues in 2019, which has prevented me from working since then. And that culminated with a lot of the other problems that we faced with like the limitation of options for what Protestant churches we had. Catholics just weren't on my radar at all at that time. I literally just didn't even think about it. I saw the Mike Winger series, thought Catholics were weird and weren't safe.
Every one of those, and I was completely convinced. I was even like, I'm never going to watch Trent Horn because Mike Winger talked so much about how slanderous and deceiving he was. I'm like, I can cut that out.
Yeah, I think that video, well, the series, and you guys watching that, and then however you felt about it and thought about it, backfired because of we'll get to your Sue's and where you guys landed. Maybe Mike Winger had something to do with how you guys became.
Honestly, for me, the second guessing of his Catholic series was watching him on head coverings
Women
and women in
ministry.
And I was just completely floored how he could treat the subject like that. Because when you're sola scriptura, it's scripture. And if you're going to do it faithfully, as I was raised, you have to get back to the original meaning. You can't superimpose a modern definition on stuff. And he reverses and I'm looking at him like, this is sola scriptura. The verse says head covering. It says you need to wear it. And he even commented, either you need to have head coverings or you need an authority that can change it, because it says it right there.
Like from that verse was, since Paul changed the meat sacrifice to idols from Acts 15, only an apostle can possibly remedy or change the law. And so either, like, there is no church that has head coverings nowadays, like other than maybe like small community groups of like Protestant churches at best that, like, I'm not near any of them.
So I've never seen Protestants veiled. Is that a thing?
No.
It used to be more common, but it hasn't been the case for like 60 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's still some fundamentalists where you get like 20 members type smallness that still do it, but they're really rare. And those that do are like, women cannot voice something. They can't sing. They're so far.
Women could be silent, right? So you can't even sing or pray out loud. Oh,
Yeah, like Amish people.
Yeah.
Mennonites. Those are the only like Protestant denominations that still technically would follow that.
Yeah.
So, like, I was just looking at it thinking, well, someone has to have the same authority of an apostle.
Yeah.
And that's what started me looking at the historic Christianity. I was really weird. This actually was probably from Mike Winger. Like, his comment on we have to look like the early church. I literally had in my head that if the early church didn't do a practice, that means we're not allowed to do that practice. Then he backfired when so I initially was kept in the dark about a lot of the church fathers.
They really
Because I actually went through. I don't have like the resources or like money. I grew up in a poor family, so I haven't done anything major in terms of academic work in
Mm.
actually going to school. But I did watch a professor from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, which is a Calvinist evangelical, I think Baptist. They might be just generic reformed group. Um, I watched every history lecture that he gave from church history into medieval history. I started reading Summa Theologica because of him. I read through it as a Protestant, and
You read the whole Summa? Oh, see, you see that right behind me? Do you see where my pencil's pointing? Those 5 bars? Yeah. Okay. Wow.
currently I have a really big 1-volume copy that I used to take around. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Um,
Good for you, man.
yeah. But I was dumb enough to read it and not be Catholic afterwards. So
Well,
He thought you were
did
a
it,
good theologian. It was funny.
did it confuse you? I mean, because there's some philosophical jargon in there that kind of makes me wonder.
so this is probably I've been very or like I like all of I didn't watch like a lot of TV shows. I mainly watched YouTube, and most of the YouTube I did watch was educational.
Oh, nice.
So I was always more geared towards I want to learn something, I want to understand the world around me. Um and one of the biggest and most influential parts of that was trying to figure I loved the medieval period. I loved fantasy and other stuff, so I was interested in learning about like mythology and other stuff. So I had already gotten into a lot of the philosophy world, and I got into it in part because of her brother. He was a philosophy major?
Philosophy major. Yep.
Nice.
Lit-
Nice.
And so I had actually read through Plato, I read through Aristotle, I did a hilarious rundown where I found out that Pythagoras, the Pythagorean theorem, stole from the Babylonians.
Dude, so math is really pagan. No, when it comes, I'll do it.
Pretty much, I I had I've had a really weird research background because I've also I had like a faith experience at 14 in like freshman year of high school where I was really depressed and I wanted to commit suicide. And I heard the voice of God say, "No, don't do that. You are my son." I looked around, there was no one by me. And I just saw what looked like a flash of me as an adult. And I knew that at least there was something that I had to live for and that I wasn't meant to die. So that kept me motivated. And because I was experiencing a lot of demonic nightmares. I had a lot of that growing up as a child.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Mika.
Yeah, she had uh her
was haunted.
yeah, her spiritual background is weird because her parents basically this is the weird thing about Protestants that I found out. They're either practically atheists, like they don't ever consider like demons like existing or oh, maybe a thought might have been whispered in your ear by like the local demon going around tempting people. Sometimes not everything in your head is always yours. I've learned that Catholics have a healthy balance. You either have basic atheists or like they're like, oh,
Himself is causing every lesson
Yeah.
going wrong in your
oh, I got a cold today. That means I must be haunted by demons.
Oh, yeah. The superstition.
Yeah.
And my parents were kind of, yeah, we agree, angels, demons, healings, miracles, they can happen, but they're super rare and no one really needs to care about them.
Yeah. So I don't want to jump ahead. I don't know if you were down there, but because you did mention dabbling in the occult, and so you guys both have some background in whether your houses were infested or haunted or whatever, and then you have some nightmares. And so, how did that play into the?
I have hers is easy to explain. Her parents were just so unaware of the spiritual world that they didn't even pray over like the house at night that, they didn't pray for God's protection. They didn't believe in guardian angels. There was just none of that. The church I grew up in did believe in guardian angels. For like it was weird of like every occasional like they would pick up every like a Catholic belief every now and then.
Did they pray to the guardian angels or just believe in them?
Just believe, and it was something that you could ask your guardian angel. It wasn't distinctly like like Catholics are very formal about the prayer.
Right.
Or like we've got formulas for all of this of just like, but you would like basically ask your guardian angel to like, oh yeah, send your angels to watch over my daughter as she sleeps tonight. That was what was common with my growing up. I have, for me, my history is longer. My biological father, he is basically, he, um, he was abusive. He was not the best. Um, there is next to no, doubt in my mind that there is no doubt in my mind at all whatsoever that he was at least demon possessed for a majority of my growing up. Um, he almost killed my mother. He cheated on her with over 200 different women that my mom knew of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
He
Not a happy.
he purposefully would bring her bottles of wine in order to keep her complacent and drunk with all of what he was doing. And he was a just very you could look in his eyes and there was this weird cold lifelessness to it that's like it wasn't there at all. And he would have like gaps in his memory that he would go into these trances and wouldn't even know or be able to recall what he was doing.
Interesting.
My mom, so he has one side of things. My mom had a different side. Was she was a dumb teenager in the 70s and did seances with Ouija boards and the candles, and she's had a lot of demonic experiences in her life. Wasn't on drugs at that time. Then as her history continued, she was always more spiritually inclined. But for that, yeah, I would, as a kid, wake up with like red scratch marks on my back. I would hear or see shadows moving in my house. I pretty much had constant nightmares
Mm.
growing up.
Did it ever occur to you guys or your dad, your mom, or whoever, maybe contact an exorcist? I don't know. I mean, I know you guys are probably
Actually, one time at a house I was about to move into, we were convinced that there were demons there, and he went to a Catholic priest, and my roommate and my parents both like exploded. How could you do that? You don't want to do that, and they got really mad at me.
because it was a Catholic priest or what?
Yeah, they're like, you should have gone to your pastor. Don't bother the Catholics. They have their own things.
Interesting. That's quite interesting and revealing. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe you guys knew subtly, like, hey, you call the Catholic exorcist to get over here. But yeah, go ahead.
Going back to when I was 14 and after that experience, I really legitimately felt like I wanted to be an exorcist. Like there was this weird like calling that I felt like it wasn't like of all the jobs I could pick as like a Christian child, like a Protestant Christian child. I have no clue why this was like the most present looming thing in my mind. So
Missionary or pastor was specifically.
So I did the dumbest thing possible that eventually would lead to me becoming more involved in the occult. I basically did all of the reading on it. I read a bunch of like exorcists' works. I read a bunch of demonology stuff. I was very aware of like occult rituals. I read witches' grimoires at 14. And then I didn't do anything with that knowledge. And after I approached my pastor and asked if we had an exorcist position at the church, he said, we don't have that here. And
Dreams were crushed. Oh,
surprised. I was like, I went off. I had my training arc. I came back. No, we don't do that here. So I just kind of put that in the back of my head. I was always in like I watched ghost videos to like see which ones I could discern were real or which ones were fake. I always had that. Fast forward like a decade. Uh, the main thing that really I have to say in my personal experience is the biggest change from being Catholic to when I was Protestant is this is the most practical one too. I I had struggled like I my church, me and my church had a lot of guys who struggled with pornography.
Mm.
And so in that I started when I was like 14, 15, and it was just a habit that built up over time. We would go through like we had Covenant Eyes, we had all of these different programs. We would or a bunch of other guys that I was involved with would always try to stop, but in the end it would just result in not a whole lot. I had this before I met her. So I was walking into a relationship with a sexual issue.
Same with me. I have a past of having issues with it too.
Yeah, she had her own issues before she met me. And so as I was going into the relationship, I had had a previous girlfriend that I had premarital sex with. Um, we broke up because I moved and long distance wasn't going to work. And then as my personal experience progressed, I never felt like I could actually have deliverance from my sin. I It was just something that existed. And yeah, there just wasn't it there, there's just like it wasn't like I could go now like I can to, oh, if I'm feeling something, I can just go to confession. I can like when I went into confession, I literally feel the Holy Spirit wash over me. Like I've just suddenly felt like a warm shower pour down upon my head. It's very like because I struggled with that for 10 years before coming to the Catholic Church.
Sorry to interrupt you, but do you think there was any correlation between you looking or dabbling in the occult and your pornography addiction?
Oh yeah, yeah, there was a link.
Was there more than just reading on demonology and witchcraft? Were you actually engaged somehow with any of it?
It that comes later. So yeah, the pornography addiction that I had exists first, or the knowledge of it exists. The knowledge of the occult exists first, and it's just in the back of my head for like a long time. And it's not until um I was engaged with like online role play groups. And so I was doing a lot of that. Because I like started at 16 with these role plays, I was single. And so before I met her, and so I didn't like being in the Baptist world, there wasn't like a conscious issue. It wasn't masturbating, having lustful thoughts. Like we knew about it, but um there was this weird ethos of that, oh, your sin is God already forgave you for your sin, or it's just a thorn in your flesh, or
You just have to deal with the temptation.
yeah,
There's no real freedom from it. It's just up to God when that temptation moves you.
yeah. So they literally were like, I've actually been told with someone looking in my eyes that, oh yeah, you'll just always struggle with lust, and there's no such thing as like a time when you'll ever be free from your sin. Gee. When yeah, it was
Only way I ever found to be free of any sin is like this weird psychotic cutoff, like especially with sexual sin. I either had to be completely non-sexual, cut off entirely, or I was struggling with the sin.
there was no healthy expression.
Yeah.
So I was involved in these like role play groups, and I remember showing her,
Read that.
yeah, she read them, these messages that like I was exchanging with other people. They got sexual. I was struggling. And so as I sent these very basically like messages of just erotica to other people and exchange it back in role play, effectively what all of the like satanic panic parents were genuinely concerned about their kids playing D&D for.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
what was going on in the stuff that I was engaged in online. And well, my conscience at the time was weak enough to say, well, it was just online. I wasn't actually doing anything. It was just character I was playing. That wasn't really me. So
And I even agreed with him, like, yeah, you're playing a character.
yeah,
Characters can have sex. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not.
Oh, you mean you guys were together and you knew about him doing this?
I knew about everything.
yeah, okay.
That's probably the only one good thing out of the Protestant. He had a very strong sense
Oh,
of
yeah.
honesty, and we kept no secrets. So
Oh,
if
sure.
he was struggling with porn, with erotica, fill in the blank, I was aware of every step.
Yeah. What was the name of the game, if you don't mind, or like?
Oh, it wasn't like
It
a
wasn't
game.
creative.
There, like it was literally just like I made my Discord on the day that I joined a server for roleplay. So
Text based.
yeah, it was just all text based.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
The game I initially played was Roblox,
Okay.
and I was 16 on a Roblox roleplay.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm not gonna say I did, but I knew people meeting other people online through games of any kind of sort. Whether it's role playing or just some app on the phone.
We did meet and make the majority of my friends from I played a lot of Halo. I met people on there. Um, I've always had a mix of like online and in person friends. Um, you want to check that?
She's drawing attention because the
Also, kid stubbed a toe on suiting.
Hopefully, the kid sells his toe right.
he wants to keep having book time.
Dude, are you okay?
Do you need to snuggle for a bit?
Oh, Snuggles. Seattle Snuggles.
Please, volleyball time on Tuesday.
Yes, snuggle. Can you guys go play?
Tip your fingers out of your mouth, Rose. They have a hard time getting their hands out of their mouths.
Oh, really? My 2-year-old does that sometimes. Yeah. She'll actually try to like put her whole fist and rip down her throat. I'm just like, nah, you gotta. You must.
It's just Emma. Do you want to make on the floor? Okay, go rest. Go take a nap. You want to
See,
here's a
where were we?
Oh, the role playing thing with.
So, yeah, I started getting involved with roleplay. It mixed with my pornography addiction. The more I was involved with it, the more I wanted it. It was just a feedback loop of like I would start off with like role playing. I would fall into temptation. I would masturbate or look at porn. I would basically, because the way that I was taught in that church and from a Protestant point of view is you just had to hate your sin. And so it just started looping again and again with self-hatred. I I would just like I would want to do anything just to stop feeling towards sin and positive towards the pornography that I was looking at. And then I would just try to like either punish myself as penance, or I didn't even have a concept of penance at this time,
Right.
but um it was just the cycle of getting worse and worse and worse.
Gibson and shit takes a while.
Yeah, that was always something that we dealt with. Um Eventually um I was involved with a friend. I had started of course going down the rabbit hole of pornography. Um oh, the stuff that I looked at yesterday doesn't feel as good anymore, so I need to look at more extreme stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, the normal. So I was beginning to fall for more and more temptation in that way. I was getting more involved in the role play. I started going online more. As I got more online, I started interacting with, like, first it was, I felt temptation towards homosexuality. It was, um, basically a pursuit of just either novel experiences or other stuff that I could indulge in. Eventually, I get in contact with, or my friend who would later become my boyfriend at the time. We were still married, of course, and she knew all about this.
Okay.
Um, we got together and eventually ended up in a group with a group of furries who were Satanists.
So I think I know what furries are, but I mean, they have a certain attire or dress, right?
Luckily, this was all online, so I didn't have to deal with anyone walking around in a carpet suit.
Or yeah, carpets. Yeah.
But yeah, they dress up in animal costumes. It's mainly about what I found about furries is they feel emotional attachment to a lot of their younger childhood characters. So some people, it's like characters from Star Fox, or other people, it's that. And that's what kind of gets the first little hook in. And then they, or they or they start confusing, um, they lose conscious objection to the animalistic parts. And the novelty of the animalistic then becomes the attractive feature.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's normally how people sink into the furry world. And then eventually, um, of course, not all the time, but a decent number of the time, it does lead to sins like bestiality. Being a furry was, I wasn't like ever distinctly, like, I did make a few mental precautions. I started getting into some, like, it was pursuing whatever looked the most attractive. And so some of it was something that was obviously like not physically possible, or there was stuff like that. So I made a mental note that I didn't want to burn with a desire for something that I couldn't even fulfill. So I stayed away from a lot of the more outlandish stuff that people just do commonly fall for because they don't take those same precautions. Um, the reason why I started getting into the occult was I had this really messed up sense that, as a Baptist, that I thought was okay. I had the idea that I could um effectively infiltrate their cult, and that it was not gonna do anything bad. Yeah. So as I recalled, like, when I was, it was a mix of emotions that made me go for it. I was already struggling with homosexuality. I already felt like I wanted to just indulge in sexual deviancy, and like I even multiple points said,
Let's just do 10 years.
yeah, let's just do 5 years or 10 years and just forget about the Christian stuff.
Wait. What do you mean do 5 years and forget?
Like
No, no.
5 years of just indulging in like
Oh,
what the world has to offer.
okay.
That
And during that 5 years, you forget about the Christianity, and then maybe come back to it after this indulgence.
I had a weird position. I had that spiritual experience. So I knew that God was real. I had had enough spiritual experience with demons. I like grew up seeing shadow people that, and I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't like any of this. And like other people in the room would occasionally see the exact same thing. So I'm not hallucinating this on my own.
Hmm.
Um, it really was. I am seeing this. So I couldn't look, or like I made fun of atheists. I thought it was ridiculous that they could effectively come to the conclusion that something came from nothing and that this was all here without a purpose, or that they would get mad at something, appeal to a moral standard, and well, what moral standard did it come from?
Right.
Uh, I read a lot of C.S. Lewis, and the thing that comes to mind is, well, in order to know whether or not something's straight, you have to know what a straight object looks like in the first place.
Right.
Otherwise, there is no straight, there is no crooked. It's all just subjective.
Yeah. That objective standard. Yep.
Yeah. So as my sort of um stuff went on, I decided that I already knew a lot about it. I was trying to, because of the role play, because of the fantasy, I did a lot of story criticism reading. I would sit and read like how Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings. I would read how like C.S. Lewis and his thought process. I watched a whole like documentary about their book club called the Inklings and all that stuff. And so I was reading mythology. I was reading a bunch of stuff on fantasy, the history of fiction in general. I was really, really like into all of that just at the time. So I was like, okay, I already know a lot of mythology. Why don't I just pretend to be a theistic Satanist? Which started me on the path of actually being a theistic Satanist. Um, during that time that we started the occult, did it last a year or two?
Pick one full year. At least in my participation.
Well, we
Oh, so you guys both did that?
yeah, because I was open about everything. She was a participant in most of what we were doing.
I kind of fluctuated between trying to convince him to stop and trying to distance myself from him and then just going headlong into joining him.
Gotcha.
So
you guys, oh, go ahead.
you can
I was just gonna say, so was this like a formal joining of the occult, or what happened?
There wasn't an in-person like group we joined, but otherwise, yeah.
well, I looked more. Um, because I had already had like all of my occult research from back when I was 14, I pulled back up my journal. I read through all their rituals. I had taken detailed notes on all of it.
Oh, you still had that
Yeah,
journal?
so-
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, well, I wanted to be an exorcist, so there was no reason to throw it away.
Sure.
So, because I thought this was like good information. Like I had even read like ancient church, or not ancient, but medieval church documents. I read Malleus Maleficarum, the one that's famous for saying that for some odd reason, or people think it's sexist, even though it's not. If you're wondering, the thing that they think is sexist about it is they make a comment on, in an odd case of a majority of participants in witchcraft tend to be women by observation. Hence, it was dubbed witchcraft and not warlockery. That was literally the only thing that was slightly sexist in that. Like, what was it? Even the Da Vinci Code rolled with that stupid narrative.
Yeah. Good old Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
So then you guys were in this for about a year. I mean, can you explain maybe a little bit?
Year and a half
Oh,
or
right.
more. I've had it starts with me. Because I read all of these things, I also, because of our church hopping in 2020 with COVID, um, we wanted to find a new church. The church that we left, um, well, initially the problems we were having, or the start of the occult stuff begins with, we were attending the church. We had just had another child. Um, and there was a problem. They asked for us to put the like what 6 month old or the newborn, to put a mask on the newborn, which wasn't in the regulation for even like our state law.
Yeah, and I said, since you can't put a mask on your 10-month-old and your newborn, you can't come into in-person services.
Yeah, so
Fair.
we're not allowed to attend anymore. And so I just took that as okay. I didn't like the pastor anyway.
This worked so well.
Yeah, this worked really well. We're basically being told don't come. So
Right.
and I at the very least, even with any of the masking stuff, I wasn't worried about it. Um, I just was relaxed with most of COVID. I had already, due to my fascination in medieval history, looked at the bubonic plague and was like, okay, anything less than literally throwing people into their houses and bricking their doors, and making sure they couldn't get out. That's basically the only way to guarantee that the disease doesn't spread, and we can't exactly do that. So I didn't care. Um, history is very useful for learning stuff like that.
So what I'm just morbidly curious, you know, what is this, you know, you both are in the occult.
A
What
lot
does
of
this look
my
like?
So I, due to my fascination of history and due to my Christian sense of things, and I, what the motivation was I felt from the perspective of what I would say is a demon. I knew that God existed. I knew that he was there, but I literally had zero ability to overcome my sin at all whatsoever. So I felt woefully unworthy and like I just wanted to give up. And it coincided with I'm not worthy of the life of the spiritual discipline. And I felt that I was just what I was worth was just going and embracing those elements of death, it, sin, in stuff like that. So I, um, I have a very, um, I looked into Judaism. I learned about the rabbinical tradition after I cobbled a analysis of, everything that I learned about the spiritual world and how they function by looking at what Greek sacrifices acts for. I learned how Babylonians worship, Sumerians, Egyptians, Norse. I did a little bit of Celtic, but they were a bit boring. Um, so I even looked at like Native American worship rites um, of the demonic because I was under the presumption that God gods in other like places were just demons. And that's what I largely had an assumption of. And so I gave up on or I just figured out what parts of the ritual produced the demon, and I made a modified version of basically Babylonian sacrificial rites. I would use my own blood as an offering.
I woke up before them.
Yeah, she would help perform them, and effectively, I got into the occult by just that. No animal sacrifice, no nothing,
Just your own blood.
just mine. Yeah.
And this was like a rite of sacrifice, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
How often would you do that?
Tens of weeks a days.
Yeah. A couple times a week. I kept running out of places to. I kept having to space the rituals because I didn't want to damage my health too much. Because getting blood out of the body is difficult.
Mm.
Um, and so we summoned demons.
They would mostly talk to me, and I'd tell them what they were saying.
I could sense their presence, but I could never hear their words. Whenever I could hear the whispers, like I could discern that someone is talking, but I couldn't make out the distinct words. She was more sensitive to listening, and so it was a bit of us working as a pair in the demonic.
Wow. So, I mean, what would you hear?
Sometimes I'd actually hear full-on voices. Most of the time, I'd get like an image or a picture in my head, a very strong impression of you're trying to say this. Sometimes
what-
I'd get random words.
They were random. They didn't make any
Yeah, it'd be like, "Oh, I'm feeling tree, sword," and then we talk back and forth basically and try to figure out what the demon was saying. And other times I got like, I'm hearing a voice and they're saying these words.
What kind of images in your head?
Um, it depended. They interacted oddly with us because they knew we had the spirit. And
I was baptized at the time, and so was she. So we were Christians, even though I was baptized. We were both baptized Protestant.
there were times that I would or he would offer them more power or more control, and they would actually respond, "We can't."
Yeah, like I wanted to. I wanted to indulge more. I wanted to grant them more power, so I would make another offering. And a lot of the other pagans that I interacted with, a lot of the other witches and the covens that I saw, because they were approaching it from basically a pagan ideology, they didn't acknowledge God. Um, so that's why I said I was coming at it like a demon, because I knew God was there. I was summoning them and offering them something for the purpose of basically establishing a communion with them in a relationship instead of the normal, just a quid pro quo kind of spell, which was very customary.
Was there anything that just like freaked you out or scared you, or was there any like some sort of preternatural?
For me, I really strongly, and I felt them touching me.
Oh, okay.
I saw they would approach me in dreams.
Mhm.
I would have more visions.
We had a little idol, and he could touch parts of the idol, and I would feel it on my body.
Seriously?
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wait, is that analogous to voodoo in a sense, or not?
Some of it, yeah, all magic fundamentally works on the same power of the demons. So because what we were doing was trying to create I was trying to create a connection between her and the demon that I was asking to basically be my patron.
Hey, I have a Patreon account. You can become a patron. Could not help it.
Yeah, sorry.
Even as we were trying this, there were times that angels would actually come and interrupt and do stuff. It was really weird. It was very clear God was trying to say, "Hey, maybe don't do this."
Really?
Mhm.
How did that play out, or how did you experience that with the angels intervening or whatever?
I'm also forgetting.
Yeah, they did it subtly, and it
Oh,
was
I
I would hear them. I'd be like, "There's an angel here as well," and they would answer and make the game more true, like something.
I'm just playing advocate DA right here, so I'm just trying to. What's to say that you guys weren't suffering from mental illness or just stark superstition? You know what I mean? Like, because to me, it sounds like you're both experiencing it together.
Yeah.
So that would kind of validate it, right?
He would ask something, and I would know the answer without me having a reason to.
I could literally think a thought, ask her a question in my head, and she'd just say the answer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's preternatural stuff going on there for sure.
I also, when I would do a blood offering, um, the blood in the cup would disappear. It would be
Really?
yes.
I mean, like instantly, or would it take time? Or
The level would just drop until it was gone.
man,
I
Even a time when I was bleeding and
oh yeah.
a
So
I healed. It was after a birth of a child,
Yeah.
and so I stopped bleeding irregularly past after birth.
we started the communion with the demons, and we asked for her health. She's had chronic health issues. So that was one of the reasons that I even sought the demons, because it seemed like I had a lot of just exhaustion that I didn't feel like I wasn't being delivered from my sin. I wasn't being helped in any way.
That
Um,
being healed, despite that, others praying for us, like we followed in James.
I'm so sorry. Just so I don't forget, I hate interrupting people. I hate it. But when you guys joined the occult, did you have kids or no? Not yet.
yeah, we did.
Okay.
We got married because the day I asked her to marry me, we had premarital, and that was actually the day my son was conceived.
No. Okay.
Yes, our first. So it sped up the wedding.
Yes,
It was very difficult to deal with.
that was kind of the final point that got my family on our side because I was have a child with him, and so they're like, "Union anymore. He's here to stay forever. Right? Even if you don't get married, he's now in our life forever."
Yes.
Right. Understandable. Sorry, I don't mean. I hate interrupting. I'm so sorry. Otherwise I would have forgotten. So
I stopped bleeding after one of my births with
Yeah,
demonic stuff, and they left, and I started bleeding again, and they came back, and I stopped bleeding.
moment of
so they like, because you kind of formed a pact or like some communion with them. So obviously there's going to be some sort of benefits
Yeah.
under some guise or whatever. But they're gonna, feel like.
Because he got
Wow.
it's very hard to convince someone of child sacrifice if nothing happens.
Wait, I'm sorry. You really caught me off guard there. Can you just
Well,
repeat that?
like people in the Bible, Cain and
Yeah.
and like it's very hard to convince someone of child sacrifice if you're not getting anything at all out of it.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
Like
Yep. Not a good investment. Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that like that I learned from like a historian was the people in the past were not stupid. They were very reasonable, and even if they didn't have the formal codified version of science, they were using a form of proto-science of cause and effect to reason all things out. And even Thomas Aquinas says that the mind is wired to reason from the cause back to the effect, which is why our minds are always geared to go towards God, because he is the first cause.
Yeah. Wow. Amen. Wow, you really did read the Summa.
I didn't read Basila.
Just substantiated that claim.
Yeah.
So,
The change, one kind of thing that actually made us more open to the Catholic Church was in this community. We would ask them questions about like this church, like, does it have the Holy Spirit? They could interact with.
okay, I'm just getting really like, whoa, no way. Keep going though.
Yeah. We it there was an because I never denied God. They talked with like I had the list of like how they would talk to people in grimoires. I had read like alchemy textbooks from the 1500s forwards and the occult. I read like a bunch of occult research in addition to what I did. I did a full meta-analysis. I realized that demons were really kind of dumb about the physical world, and a lot of the people that they were trying to help create potions of immortality were they were just getting them killed on on accident by their lack of understanding of the physical world.
That's yeah, yeah. I was just like, bro, you can't even get the recipe right here, and you're killing. Boy, what's going on?
Because a big part of the divine.
Hey, we have that same toy. I know that sound.
Yeah, this
Absolutely. Oh,
plane from France.
oh man, I know that toy like the back of my hand.
We got it last year for Christmas, and it has not stopped being used.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So like I would ask them questions of like their mythology. What really was going on. I asked them about demonic politics and how that worked. I had an opportunity to get to know their perspective on at least what was going on. And so what led me starting to the Catholic Church was actually the facts that one of the demons I was interacting with, um, it eventually bounced up to, I believe, um, eventually someone said that's a question that only Lucifer could answer. I summoned and met Lucifer. He had an apparition visibly in front of me, and I saw him physically there. And we had a talk, and I eventually made because I still somewhere deep down wanted to have the truth. I started learning about magic and all of this other stuff, and eventually there were some hints of what the Old Testament sacrifices were like, what they really did for the people of Israel. I understood. So in the Old Testament sacrifices, you cut the neck of the animal, but for the demons, you had to strangle the animal, or else the blood would pour out and they wouldn't be able to effectively drink the life out of the animal. So I learned some of these nuances. I learned even modern uh, demonic practices always involve a chalice. And you take a knife and you stab it into the chalice. They say it's to represent the woman and the man, and of course, the act of sex. But it's actually in mockery of the Eucharistic chalice, not the imagery that even the Satanist was thinking of.
Interesting. Wow.
So like every pagan ritual, every thing that I read from was just some modification of the Levitical ceremonies, or some other play towards it, or some corruption of one of the other sacraments. Because of the struggles that I had a lot, most of those rituals were geared towards intercourse. So the life energy from that was something that we would try to offer. Sorry, the daughter just finished a granola bar.
Oh, nice. Good job. We love granola bars.
It had chocolate chips in it too.
There you go.
But that was something that I was the most interested in. And because of just that struggle that I had, that was um the main like primary draw of what I was trying to go for, because I wanted the pleasure out of it, and the demons wanted to basically form that mutual relationship so that we could basically both profit off of each other.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that maybe or perhaps or maybe even that you were demon possessed like fully or
So the reason why I would say that I'm not is because at multiple points I did perform the ritual for it, and I actually heard the demon shout, "This isn't working." I was fully willing to try to be possessed at multiple points because I didn't have the church yet. I didn't have the sacraments. There was still no deliverance from my sin. I struggled with it. Um, I I really did just want to go all in and throw my life into this. I even wrote out a contract, signed it in my blood with the demon.
is that right?
Yeah. I laid the pen on the clipboard that we had on it. It rose up and wrote its signature.
No way. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse my being credulous here, but I mean, okay, I believe you. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just like, wow, wow.
We had a lot of
A lot of weird stuff.
a lot of weird stuff like that.
Yep.
And another event, and no matter how much I tried to throw more of myself into the ritual, it really did feel like there was an angel who was just giving the thumbs down to the effectiveness of the ritual, because um I never got possessed.
It was definitely a miracle that nothing worse.
Praise God.
It worked. But the fact that it's coming over.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are people, right, that kind of, in a sense, inadvertently or without the intent of getting possessed, like they'll play with a Ouija board or whatever, or dabble with this, dabble that, end up getting possessed, and then here you are, like signing your blood in a contract. And it's like, no, sorry.
Yeah. It kind of reminded us that demons really don't have that much power, especially in the face of divine power.
They're only allowed to do as much as God permits them to,
Right,
which always works out in God's favor.
right. Good. Yes.
They really hate the most.
Amen.
So as we got more involved, when I did eventually summon Lucifer, as we were shopping around for churches, um, I we were still going because we were financially dependent on her parents, because I couldn't work and she's was also chronically ill. So I wanted to keep up the appearance of at least goodness. And there was a part of me that never wanted I still wanted the good. I did end up feeling actually positive care and consideration for these demons, like genuine heartfelt concern over them, that I was interacting with them. And I could, she would talk, they would talk through her, and I would get to know them. I'd ask their favorite color, um, from small.
I'm sorry. It's just like, well, what are we going to ask this demon today? What's your favorite color? Oh, sorry. Oh, that's funny.
When they wouldn't do the possession, we're like, you're already here. Let's do something.
It was really interested in understanding who they were as persons. So one common thing that would always come up was, why do you hate God? In my actions, I obviously didn't want what God wanted, but I never, in my head or in my emotion, my will was blown to smithereens, but I couldn't hate God in my heart. I never really did. I felt lost and abandoned, but I didn't feel like hateful towards God.
Maybe that's in a sense, maybe kind of what saved you or not become possessed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another, so I would ask them, well, why don't you like God? What are your actual complaints? I would sit and I would listen, and because I knew enough theology, I knew enough about the head of what the truth was. I read enough Thomas Aquinas that I would start arguing with them. That's how Lucifer came up. Someone asked. I wanted to know why he rebelled in the first place. And so it largely came down to his ego, to summarize. And he, I was, we made a deal, me and him, that if I can come up with an airtight argument for, because I had this argument, I knew that God was at the core of my existence, that I could never fully betray him, that my life literally depended on his love to keep me sustained and alive. It's like, yeah, at the root of it, I knew in my heart, well, I not only in my heart, but at my core, like I went through philosophy class and I was so annoyed with a bunch of the pagan philosophies. It's all morality was just pain versus pleasure. It was just these two things. And I was like, that doesn't seem right.
Right.
So I was like, okay, from a Christian perspective, what's good and what's evil? Well, eventually I landed on, since God is life and goodness, life has to be the goodness. And like I then eventually confirmed that after hearing a video from Bishop Barron like 3 or 4 months later, that love is the sustaining of life in another person with no consideration back to yourself.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well said. Sorry. Well said.
And so, since goodness and life are so interconnected with what's bad, well, if sin equals death, or sin leads to death, then obviously death has to be the bad guy. It has to be the enemy. And so, the reason why what's good and bad was always then rooted in, well, what leads to death? What leads to life? So eventually, I just asked and presented the argument before Lucifer with the charge that if he can tell me, or if he can't refute the argument in without lying, with while being in the fullness of honesty, which asking the father of lies to be honest is a weird stretch.
Yeah, I was gonna say this doesn't sound like it's gonna end well, but
Eventually, I went with the essence argument that since God is the sustainer of my essence, the thought that you could triumph over God is irrational and impossible, because you can't triumph over the thing that gives you your life,
right.
gives you your sustenance. And so he eventually, after like an hour of back and forth, his face looked grim and sorrowful. I don't know if it was remorseful, but his face just looked grim. He breathed out and he said, "You win. The right church is the Catholic Church." And that's what was the final straw that convinced us to actually go book a meeting with the priest. I still had theological questions because I was split between Catholic orthodoxy or even trying to convince like either a coven to convert to Christianity or something, or go convince some Jews that Jesus was the right guy. Because we have a few synagogues around here, and that was like my best bet of like, I needed a community, I needed a church. So after that, we book a schedule with a priest.
We love our priest, by the way.
Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
we email him. He replies within what, 3 days? 2 days. And
Appointment by the end of the second day.
yeah, and it was in less than a week. I couldn't meet my pastor. It was a call. I don't think it's, yeah. My pastor took like 3 months to get back to us and then canceled.
One church, when we were asking for help with paying, I literally emailed them every month, and they just kept, I'm like, we'll talk with our elders about this and get back to you if we can help you. I'm like, this is,
Yeah, every month for 7 months. And
they eventually just said, yeah, no, we can't really help with that. We don't know how to structure that.
yeah, they didn't
Oh,
know how to
okay.
help their own congregants, and we were thinking of becoming members there and joining fully. So we kind of just like, okay, that can't be God. God is way more organized than that.
That's pretty. Yeah. chaos and disorder are not God.
Yeah. And oh yeah.
Then we started listening to Trent Horn.
Then yeah, she starts listening to Trent Horn. I find Joe from Shameless Popery and am hooked immediately.
Dude, they will love this. They will love the testimony.
The final straw for me for Protestantism was listening to Trent. How to Be Christian was probably the other. Loved him.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this.
Really nice. I was in the Baptist world. I was a big fan of Leighton Flowers, if you tell me he is.
Yep.
Yeah. I loved all of his videos, and the algorithm of like YouTube or Instagram started putting How to Be Christian videos in.
And since he dove straight from scripture and we were so sola scriptura, we're like, we can't repeat.
I didn't know that he wasn't. I didn't know he was Catholic at first.
Well, I mean, in a sense, that's his whole gig is he wants to be somewhat inconspicuous that he's Catholic because the Bible, without saying that you're Catholic or reading it through a Catholic lens, it's a Catholic book regardless. So if I'm just going to present you with the Bible and you're going to not be able to refute me with that same Bible, then you should be Catholic. And he uses a lot of humor and snark. So he actually, don't tell the other apologists. I kind of know most of them personally, but if there was one YouTube channel, Catholic YouTube channel that I would watch regularly and not miss an episode or a video or whatever, the only person was How to Be Christian. The only one. So I would watch Joe and Trent and all these other cats, but it was not like How to Be Christian.
Yeah. It was that clear like Catholic leaning. Also like,
And
because of my occult backgrounds, it was like, okay, I started rereading the New Testament. And I was like, wait a moment, Jesus is saying that this is his blood. To me, like even my status on Discord is Scholar of Blood. What really stopped me from being Protestant was just the lack of ritual focus. Yeah. It wasn't magical, and that's one of the big issues. I eventually realized how truly actually mystic the rituals for the sacraments were, and that was basically the biggest last straw for me. That was just like, as someone, or I even read through in what was it, 8? Simon Magus.
I think so.
Simon Magus, the demonic magician, looked at Peter and James.
Oh yeah, and he said, "Give."
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
I basically had that moment, except I'm not willing to pay for it.
Yes. And another thing as we were kind of leaving it full is because I was now used to communing with spirits, I actually started hearing angels more often. So
Yeah.
I still hear my guardian angel. And at the first time we went to mass, I felt my guardian angel say, there's Christ.
Yes.
At Drive Celebration.
beautiful. Now I'm guessing you're the priest that you emailed, he got back to you, and I'm sure you went through OCIA and all that stuff. You probably disclosed all of this to the priest, right?
Yeah,
So-
pretty much all over the day.
So what did the priest say in response to like your whole experience in the occult? Was he saying like, hey, let's go to confession, make sure we get you
Well,
clean?
Because he was busy, and we did talk about this. He didn't, because he had so much time, he just said that OCIA was fine and that, like, I confessed all of this. He heard most of the detail there.
In our first meeting, we didn't start with, we're in the occult, we're doing all this. We started a little bit more with, we're Protestants curious about the church.
Yeah, I knew eventually that I would have to come out about the occult. There was this desire of honesty and to be open about things.
Yeah.
One praise point is even the it was a very dramatic confession because it was face to face, and I was baptized at 16, so I had from 16 to 26, 10 years worth of mortal sins to confess.
Same with me. I was baptized in my teens. And
I'm a convert from Protestantism, so I had 20 years or whatever. But I think as long as you, to the best of your ability and memory, I don't, and you're not deliberately withholding.
Oh no, I went through 3 different lists to make sure.
Were you in there for 2 hours?
Somehow
45 minutes, I think. You were.
What, really? Yeah, that makes sense. First confessing, yeah.
I was way fast.
Yeah. Okay, well, because I did all the online stuff, so I had to confess. I also, because of one personal thing, because of his relation to like Calvinism, I had to personally confess like sins against Augustine, because John Calvin basically misquotes Augustine in every other line of the institutions.
For a while, both of you thought Augustine was basically a heretic. Because we thought Calvin was quoting him accurately.
Yeah, I went over my head to think that the guy who's wrong about a lot of stuff is probably also reading that wrong.
Right. I mean, Calvin and Luther, they have a stark affinity for St. Augustine.
Yeah.
But it's
Your pick.
Thomas Aquinas is my first. I adopted Augustine as a second patron. I pray the rosary in the Sips with Sarah
man.
every day at 2:00.
So how did you get into contact with Sips with Sarah, Adrian? Because
His channel saw the Discord.
I just saw the Discord down in the description. And I was like, he mentioned it in like one video, and I was like, I just converted to Catholicism. I really wanted to start getting connected in with people, and I was like,
yeah.
I do most of my stuff online anyway because the health issues prevent us from going many places.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, this works out.
Got to know. Offered to admin. I hope
Eric Costelli. Yeah, dude, he's a gem. I love him. But so when did you guys when were you confirmed rather?
Last Easter.
Yeah.
Okay, last year. So we'll be up on a year in like March or April, right?
Yeah. So our conversion was we got there. We started inquiring the month before Easter during Lent, 2 years ago.
And the priest is feeding you through OCA in a month. You get to wait to fall.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to accept the Marian doctrines.
Yeah,
My,
those were definitely the hardest.
So that was your biggest stumbling block?
it was the biggest unfamiliarity because I was wondering about the basis of all of them. And he handed me a catechism. I've read through the catechism.
Oh, nice.
He handed it to me and said, the Marian dogmas come in time. I thought that Jesus had brothers because
for that one.
he said, well, accordance with he gave a very brief defense. My other part was, since we were coming from a lot of Protestant churches, which were Calvinistic, they believed in something that I couldn't accept morally, which is, if you're not saved. If they believed, they believed that anyone who wasn't distinctly Christian after a point of confession, or intellect in the faith just went automatically to hell, which included aborted babies, which was like ridiculous to me. It's like
miscarried
or miscarriage
or little
or
kids
anything
that
like.
Well, not to rain on your parade. So St. Augustine's my confirmation saint. But he believed that unbaptized babies and infants went to hell. But he was wrong.
Yeah,
he was wrong.
I've accepted that some saints are wrong about things. I even read one of Thomas Aquinas's points that he makes in some of the nature of the universe is that he thought some stars were spiritual entities and others were physical. He was obviously wrong about that. It's just boiling on slide. We could. It's fine.
I think we also told what humans go through an animal stage and then are unsouled, which we know isn't right with embryology now that we know more.
Well, when he means animal, he means a living creature not yet fully endowed with a human dignity yet, or the human faculties yet.
Intellect and will,
yeah. So, because the term animal means anima, which is living, and then with breath, basically means.
That's where we get animation from.
Yeah.
One other stark contrast that we love about the Catholic Church is just the generosity.
Oh, y'all, tell me about it. Oh.
Because he got sick in 2019, I can only work part-time with my health. And so we've been constantly without ability to afford anything. And we would knock on doors constantly with Protestants, and they would give us one meal. Or one church literally said, you know what, how about you wait on that medical procedure to test for stuff until you get more money because we're not sure we can afford to help you. And we come to the church, and we're moving. And I'd literally only known these women for like a month. And they rallied and got a bunch of people together to help us move.
Yeah.
First Christmas at church, my women's group gave us like over $2,000. Also, Christmas to give us presents for the kids to help us.
Yeah.
St. Vincent de Paul Society has helped us so much.
They've given our kids clothes, jackets, other things for winter.
St. Vincent de Paul just gave us Christmas presents. I was expecting that, they got a present for each kid, and I literally don't have space to put all the presents they brought to us.
Yeah. I can sympathize and relate because, again, this isn't to bash Protestants, but when I was received in the Catholic Church and then subsequently married and whatever, I've never experienced such sincere generosity when you have people like you said, you had a group of people pool their resources together. I remember before I got married to my wife at the church, like a bunch of ladies got together and they raised, I don't know, like $1,700 for our wedding. It's just like, and we don't even know half of them. Like, you know, like,
Even on our reception, we each got a massive folder of handwritten cards and rosaries from the congregation.
I got
Like,
like 5 or 8 rosaries that I now give to the kids to pray.
it's awesome. Wow, you got your kids praying it. That's great, man. Keep that up. Got a rosary warrior here. I love it.
I was pregnant with our 5th.
Yeah.
And I started having complications.
Yeah.
And so I actually prayed, if there's any saint that can help me, I need help right now. We need to find a hospital for induction because I wasn't with a hospital. And literally the next day, St. Anne's Hospital called, said we.
And yeah, I was gonna say Saint Gerard of Magella too, but yeah, Saint Anne. I think they're
When
co-payer.
a few months later, in preparation for a feast day, I decided to pray a novena since I had the experience of, oh, St. Anne helped. And I prayed, I need to find a job. I had an interview this last week. Just help me. And as soon as I stopped praying the novena, the principal called to the school and said, hey, you want the job?
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I've never experienced prayer in that fashion in the Protestant world in my experience of faith.
Likewise.
Yes, I'm like,
I've had moving from the occult into the Catholic Church. It's been surprisingly smooth because a lot of the mental posturing is the same. When you're making a sacrifice, you're offering yourself to the influence or to the deity, either in a physical way or in a spiritual way. And so it literally felt like it prepared me to receive the Eucharist. After confession, I actually haven't had, I had a pornography addiction. That's gone. I felt the priest, again, the fire wash over me and cleanse me of my sin. And it has been a deliverance ever since.
Wow, praise God. Yeah, I can share in the same kind of liberation as y'all. Because when I wasn't a Catholic, I was living in dissipation and licentiousness. I was just indulging in the flesh.
Mhm.
And I think I needed, like, some people, like, okay, there are some people outside of the Catholic Church, in a sense, it's like they can get by with the graces that they have. I know that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Become Catholic, but
Yeah.
like me, I needed, for me to get help and to become liberated from all my attachments and addictions and stuff. Oh, I needed something like ridiculously supernatural. And
Yeah.
that's the Catholic Church. Like,
Yeah.
settle for anything less.
just on the sake of saying it out loud, even if there wasn't any magic behind it, just saying it to the priest and hearing you're forgiven. I had no idea how much that would mean to me, especially with Protestant of if it's a secret sin like sexual sin, you don't confess it to others. Like I wouldn't confess it to my pastor or to my small group ladies or anything like that because it's my sin. It's hidden. It's just between me and God. I don't need to say it out loud or say it to anyone. Saying out, no, I hated my sister. No, I did this thing. No, I did that. And I'm like, just that alone helped a lot. And then added the spiritual feeling of I'm now free from that. I don't have to carry that anymore. It's just so amazing.
It's beautiful because, like, again, no offense, but in Protestantism, a lot of things are lacking and depersonalized. So, for instance, like general confession or absolution. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I went to my Protestant church and service, it was just like the priest would absolve us generally without us individually confessing. Or our doctrines would say, like, well, Christ forgave all your sins, past, present, and future. Okay. But in the Catholicism, I get a priest one-on-one individually saying, I can hear the words, I absolve you of all your sin. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, we should probably get going. Was there anything else you want to add to anything that was? Ooh, what was that?
I don't think it was.
Oh, that's Duplos. They're playing with them.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like a glass we broke or something.
They've got a big tub and they dump it out every now and then.
Yeah. I don't think I'd added anything else. It's been a crazy ride. Now I'm just focused on trying to convince my family to be Catholics.
Yeah. Well, I'm in no position to tell people what to do, but yeah, just love them,
Yeah.
Just pray for them and love them.
I've had amazing experiences since. One reason what I've been praying the rosary for is I didn't distinctly pray it out of the promises, but all of the spirituality that I felt before, there was always this looming shadow of emptiness and death and despair in all of the that grim, demonic, and occult activity. And now I actually get to feel like I have life. I can feel receiving the Eucharist is like nothing else. Just feeling it sink into my heart and then erupt outwards in warmth and life has been very the exact opposite of pretty much what I experienced in the demonic.
Yeah, I just have to say this. I've done about 10 of these conversion story interviews, and I keep saying like, "Oh my gosh, this is the most crazy, insane story you've ever heard." But I mean, this one takes the cake, and it's not even close. Like, I had one, the whole family converted to Catholicism, 2 adult parents and 3 adult children. I was like, but this one,
Kids are baptized now. 2 eldest are now at Catholic school.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking I'd homeschool them all, and I couldn't trust anyone else for it. And now I'm like, I actually have the freedom to trust someone else for teaching.
Yeah, and
no, I feel you.
I tried to bring my friends in with me, even in the midst of all of it. I
Oh,
actually
you
brought.
see it with 3 people.
What?
Joey, Kirsten.
Oh yeah, we have her best friend and my best friend in person converted along with us to Catholicism in their family. Then my ex-boyfriend, I actually am still friends with him, and I brought him into the Catholic Church too.
My mind is being blown over and over again. I should interview him. No, I'm just kidding, bro. Like, gosh.
I can answer for him. It's me nagging him all the time about actually taking spirituality seriously.
Yeah, we still nag him a little.
Okay. Well, you know him better than we do, so yeah. All right. Yeah, I should probably go. I have some kids to put down here. It's
Yeah.
what is it? 5:21 there?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
we-
So I'm sorry, what?
We have our littlest one is currently asleep right now.
Oh, okay.
Our 25-pound baby. Yeah, he born right before Easter. I'm still impressed with the Catholic Church, even just on a logistical issue. We messaged the Archbishop of Seattle, and we wanted to know if our baby, he didn't have his birth certificate, so he wasn't registered, so we didn't have all of the paperwork required for the certificate of baptism. And we messaged the Archbishop. In, um, he's in the Vatican because Pope Francis's health has declined, and he's waiting there for the conclave, and the death of Pope Francis. And he replies back within 3 days per email on our question. It wasn't no. It was a no. The new kid.
Yeah,
We have to have we have to have the birth certificate first before he can be officially in the register for the Catholic Church. But I was impressed that I could email my bishop, and he's the Archbishop of the state. He's overseeing millions of souls, and he has the time to get back to me in 3 days. But my Baptist pastor,
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, I was gonna say that bishop sounds like Bishop of the Year, man. That's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I'm glad he got back to you. Connor and Courtney, thank you so much. Wow. I'm very grateful that you guys were so transparent and open to doing this. I mean, I was intrigued, obviously, before we met tonight, just from what you guys told me. But yeah, I was wow, very surprised. That was very interesting. So thank you so much. Oh, is that the 25 pound?
yeah, he's 8 months, but this is 18-month clothing. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, he's a big boy. That's good though. Good. I love big boys.
You went to sleep?
As a joke, we call him the Nephilim.
There you go. So you guys got 5? Oh, nice. Oh, there's another one. Man, yeah, you guys got the family, quite the family. That's awesome. Do have those pictures for a thumbnail. Before I publish this, I'll send you the video. I'll send you in the title and the thumbnail just so you guys know what's going to be published. And you need anything changed, just let me know. And yeah, thanks for being on the Discord too. That's awesome. Bye. That's it. See you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Ừ.